Hello, friends. How are you? We're alive. We made it. Thank God it's a week later from our last live stream. We are exactly 7 days post-op. And I'm telling you, I feel really good. I would like to say thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you for all of your prayers and your support. I also don't really need this thing. I have a super cool new sweater that I want to show you. But I thought the robe would be kind of amusing. So we went that route. You know, we always got to have a joke or two. Sean, #1 heartbreaker. I got a better thing for you. Look at this. I don't know if you all are prepared. It's my T-Rex sweater. That's right. As always, before we go too far, we must discuss our tea for this evening. But I'm telling you, I've got notes for tonight. We're going to talk about the surgery. We have all sorts of things that we're going to discuss. But this evening, thanks to some of my sisters who love me, which gave me this lovely T-Rex sweater. T-Rex? Yeah, T-Rex. We are having... Ooh, Sean says he's drinking a coffee cocoa keto milkshake. We are having calm and relaxing loose leaf tea, which is good for your heart. And we have got this frou honey, Egmont honey, Monaco, MGO 83+, raw unpasteurized, multifloral, product of New Zealand. Now this has some flavor. So if you like raw honey, this is the jam. Michelle says, happy to see you're doing well. I am doing phenomenally. We're going to talk. Yeah, it is. Sean says that's like a $20 honey. You're right. Thank God my family sent it to me because I couldn't afford it. That's not entirely true. I shouldn't spread falsehoods. But I would like to show you my $300,000 pillow. This is the pillow I got from the hospital. It's not really $300,000, but thank God for insurance. Let me just tell you, the procedure and the hospital stay was $266,000. That does not include the $25,000 visit to the cath lab. So Nick says, speaking of the devil, I just texted you and the new YouTube live popped up. Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for being here. You haven't missed much. The only thing you've missed is the reoccurring joke for this evening. Just my T-Rex sweater. Oh my gosh, I have a page full of notes that I would like to discuss with you guys. And we're going to talk about this little doodad. Amy B says, amen, insurance. You got that right. Man, I got to get the bug sprays out here. This little device, if you know anybody who is going to go through what I went through, I would like to talk to you about this. But first, I need some bug spray, man. I thought I had some out here, but I do not. I've got my puppy, and I am getting swarmed by mosquitoes. Hold on one. It wouldn't be a live stream if I didn't walk away like 3 seconds into it. Do you see how easy I got up? Also, T-Rex, stand by. Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you go to the, it should be either the burn pit of the chairs or over there is the bug spray. I'm getting swarmed. I think I took it outside for the kids. Okay, I'm back. Like I said, wouldn't be a live stream if I didn't walk away. Also, my therapy dog is here. Have you guys seen the short with Esther? Well, Esther's here. Hi, Esther. She doesn't want to be seen. Come here. Come here. Therapy dog, Esther.
You got it?
Yeah, she's fine. Thank you. The lovely Mrs. Flannel, who is taking care of me in all things, is going to get my bug spray. I had some on earlier from wondering about the property, but they are literally like swarming. So, Adam says, good evening. Hello. It's good to see you. Good evening, Dean. Thank you. Anita, good to see you. So this is a spirometer. Okay. And Amy B says, I'll be painting the outside of the house, but listening. Eat more garlic. Scares away the insects. Doesn't work for me. I have the blood they like. So this is a spirometer, and what you do is you inhale, and there's this little wheel doohickey here, right? And it sits at the bottom. There's a happy face in the middle, and then at the top, okay, at the top is a down arrow. So you have to try and keep it in this middle thing. This is a key component to our coming story, so you'll forgive me. And you breathe, is your breath is measured in what's called tidal volume, and it's measured in mLs. And when I left to go to the hospital, the maximum I could pull was 2,500. Okay. We're going to talk about the lungs here in a bit too, but I'm now pulling 3,500, which is amazing. It's a huge improvement. But the stock market has crashed, right? The housing market is collapsing. Italy elected a firebrand. We're blowing up pipelines, the gas lines. It's a hot mess. And do you know how much of it I cared about this week? Absolutely none of it, I must confess. When you go through something like this, it kind of puts you into perspective. So let's talk about surgery. Yeah, Anita says, yay, more oxygen to the brain. You got that right. And I'm going to tell you the procedure I had, which I had to write down. I had a mitral valve with a 38 millimeter Cosgrove Edgeworth annuloplasty band with template, radical reconstruction with neocord, minimally invasive right anterior thoracotomy. And essentially what that means is they put a band inside my right atrium above my right mitral valve. God bless you. Thank you so much, Mrs. Flannel. The bugs are just crazy. I better not spray it on my teeth. Hey, amen. Nathan says God is sovereign. And I all praise to God, and thank you guys for your prayers. They carried us, especially through a particularly horrendous event that I'm going to tell you about. Hold on. Woo. You know bug spray's bad for your heart? But your prayers did. They meant the absolute world to us. They really did carry us through. And the family is good. Grandma Flannel has been here taking care of the kids. The kids have been well behaved. Monkey Mama, hello. It's good to see you. So glad you're here. Nathan asked how I knew that my heart needed fixing. I failed a physical. So our work did a very invasive, comprehensive physical for the first time in a very long time. Most of our physicals are what's known as occupational physicals. And an occupational physical, for those of you that have had like a sports physical, it's kind of like that. They draw some labs, check your vision. We had an extra part with a spirometer similar to that. We had a breath test for SCBAs. But this year they did ultrasounds. They did. Don't eat my cables. No. Esther, my therapy dog, is eating the cables. Ultrasounds of your entire body, like head to toe. We did a cardiac stress test, and I actually failed the stress test. And I had noticed in the past year or so that my fatigue level was increasing. I used to be very active in the gym and things like that, and it was all I could do to kind of just keep up with the farm and my regular job. And it was tough. I also noticed that I was actually losing some cognitive function as well. Words were not coming to me as easily. They'd be like on the tip of my tongue, but I couldn't say them. But that was it. I have no other pre-existing conditions. I don't suffer from hypertension. Like, I literally have a bad valve. So they went in with this Cosgrove Edgeworth device, and what it is a ring that they put around the top of your mitral valve, okay? And what I thought they were going to do, your mitral valve is supposed to be a one-way check valve. So the top chamber pushes blood into the bottom chamber, and when the bottom chamber contracts to send the blood to your lungs, the mitral valve is supposed to close. And what was happening is mine wasn't. So I was getting pressure backing up into my lungs. Yeah, Sean says they liked it, so they put a ring on it. So what they did was they put that ring on it, and apparently that ring they can adjust and somehow keep the valve from going past. And a couple of the versions I've seen, there's like 3 different ways they can do this. And I actually haven't talked to my cardiac surgeon to find out exactly one. But one of them is they like crisscross it. But while they're adjusting it inside your heart on the like the surgeon's table, they are checking with an echocardiogram to see if it is working. So they actually keep adjusting it. They don't just go in there and like put it in and then go, I hope that works. They keep adjusting it until they get that valve actually stops the most efficiently. It was incredible. Yeah, Nathan, absolutely. Praise God. He says God had a different path for us. He did. And so Amy B asked if you could hear the thing. You absolutely could hear it. Most people's hearts, the traditional way to pronounce it is lub dub. They make a lub dub sound. My heart made more of a whoosh whoosh sound. And you can, if you sit real still and focus, you can feel your heartbeat. And one of the coolest experiences of this whole thing was, I think it was Thursday. So I went to the hospital Tuesday. Well, we'll get there. I think it was Thursday. I could actually feel my valve like closing. Not like I could feel the shutting. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't whoosh whoosh anymore. I could feel a lub dub, and that was a really cool feeling. But Monday of last week, so let's get into this a bit. Monday of last week, we went to the VCU hospital like apartment place they have. It's called Doorways. Sorry, I always want to call it Open Doors, but it's called Doorways. It's a very nice place. For like donation purposes, essentially. So thank you, Nathan. He says, I'll be praying for you and your family. I certainly appreciate it. Oh my gosh, you guys, this tea. My mom's in the other room watching and says, so thankful. So thankful for you, Mom. You made it possible. So Monday night, we left here and we went to Richmond because it's about an hour away and we had to be like in the hospital at 5 a.m. We stayed at their little hotel. Lovely staff, wonderful visit. Got to the pre-op area and met like 40 people. So for those of you that have had any type of surgery, you know there's just people everywhere. So you're meeting the anesthesia team, and you're meeting the pre-op team, and you're meeting the just people. So many people. Holy cow, so many people. But they were great. Took really good care of us. And even actually when they wheeled me into the operating room, a lot of people listen to music. A lot of surgeons listen to music. So I kind of looked over in the right because for my paramedic training, we got to spend some time, not much, just some time in an operating room. And some of the surgeons like music. And I could see they had like a playlist pulled up over in the corner. I said, what are we listening to today, guys? Like, what's the plan? And they were like, what do you want to hear? And I was like, let's put on some Allman Brothers. So they put Allman Brothers on. And of course they put the mask on. And they never even told me when they were sending the sleepy juice. They just said, it's coming soon, relax. And yeah, amen, Carolyn. Carolyn says, your mom, Jennifer Perry, is a blessing and a wonderful gift. You got that right. So they're like, don't worry, we got you, whatever. I'm like, cool, let's get it done. I woke up, I can't tell you exactly what time. Yeah, whipping post. Rambling, man. But I woke up in the ICU, and Flannel Grand, she's the OG, of course, naturally, Sean. Woke up in the ICU, and of course Mrs. Flannel was there. I had already been extubated, so the breathing tubes were out. Was feeling good, and my brother is a few years older than my age, not his. I'm 40. Yep, I am exactly 40 years old, Nathan. Almost exactly. We discovered it the month before I turned 40. But so I wake up in the ICU and I feel surprisingly well. I was very, very drugged. I had a nerve block. I think it was a Dilaudid like button. Then there were pain meds that they were giving me. And I'll tell you, the worst part at that point was the IV antibiotics they were giving me to prevent, MRSA and infection and all that stuff. And every time for the first 3 times they gave it to me. They gave me Zofran first, which is an anti-nausea medication. And thanks, Biappy. Biappy says, glad you're doing well. I was going to say something the other day. No, that's fine. I'm glad you're here, my friend. I'm glad to be here. And they would push it. It was a slow push, but every time they gave me that IV medicine, man, I threw up. And they had me on such good pain management that throwing up didn't hurt, and that's not even an exaggeration. That's the truth. But just super, super foggy. So when I went into the OR, I had like 1 IV in my hand, and that was it. And I had the nerve block thing. They put that in before I went in. When I came out, I had an IV there in my hand. I had another IV over here. I had one over here. I had a central line in my neck. You want to see my baby? You see the one-toothed vampire? I had the central line there. I had 2 chest tubes in over here. I had a sealed incision here, a long incision here, and another incision here. Peaceful Acres says, Brian, we continue to pray. Woohoo! Thank you. Your prayers have been heard and answered in the way that we wanted them answered. Answered prayer doesn't always go that way, but it's still an answer, so we are grateful. So I woke up just, I had, yeah, Amy B says you can play connect the dots with all the different holes. And they went in through my femoral artery, which is right in the crease of your groin and your thigh. And that was actually where they went up with the Cosgrove Edwards device. And so I'm feeling pretty good. They asked a number of times about my pain. And by the 3rd time I threw up on the antibiotics, I'm not going to give an organ recital. I did tell somebody they should come play on my chest tubes and see if they could do it like a flute. But by the 3rd time they gave me the antibiotics and I threw up, we figured out that there was another anti-nausea medicine they could give me, so they did. But that first day, nobody mentioned this little guy, okay? The spirometer. This is the hero of our story. Now, my mom, who is a registered nurse, told me that this was very important. Okay, so when I woke up in the ICU, now, mind you, I was not my bright, clear, crisp-minded self. I was very, very foggy. This was sitting on the table, like, next to me, okay? It was there. Nobody mentioned it except one person, if memory serves, and they came through and said, oh, good, your spirometer's here. And I said something along the lines of, yeah, nobody showed me how to use it. Nobody showed me how to use it. But they asked a lot about my pain, and I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because I'm not, but somebody missed something somewhere. And so I'm breathing okay, right? It's hard to take a deep breath, obviously. I really can't. I mean, I can take sort of a deep breath, but I have no idea how much I could actually breathe because I was not measuring my progress. So the first night was really tough because they would give me pain meds. It would make me really sleepy. Professor Pending just asked what my do's and don'ts are by the doctor. Please ask me that in about 15 minutes. That's a great question. I want to get through my narrative of the story before I get off track. And so, like, it felt like every hour or so somebody was doing something to me. We had, thank you, Leo. Leo says, so nice to see you up. God bless you and your family. We had social work coming through asking if I was safe at home. We had occupational therapy coming through asking if, I had access or difficulty. We had occupational health coming through, seeing if I needed to have somebody come to the house. And then at night, about every 90 minutes or so, there was some medication to give. There was a vital to check. I'm not complaining. That's part of the gig. I mean, you're a heart patient. It's not like I had, knee surgery or something where, you're not going to die. It's really painful and it's terrible, but I had something that I could die. So you want to, yes, Betty, that's right. Betty says, and this is the kicker. I think I remember you talked about that pre-op because my patients all had one and did it every hour when I went in. I could be mistaken for sure. You're not. You are not mistaken. So the first night I did not obviously get a whole lot of sleep. But the pain meds kind of make you foggy, but then they wake you up to tell you, you know, they're giving you whatever. They're taking care of me. They're making sure I didn't get infected. They're making sure my pain was controlled, not complaining. But again, this was never mentioned as to when I could use it, how to use it, frequency, nothing. So after the first night, they next morning they say, hey, good news, you're doing well. We're going to get you to step down. And I said, okay, but I'm really feeling like I'm having trouble breathing. And they're like, no problem. We'll switch you off the Dilaudid and like onto Oxy or something. So they switched my meds. And again, I was in very, very, very little pain. I mean, very little pain. But the chest tubes, okay, went in the side over here underneath your armpit. This is your axillary region. And they wrapped all the way around to my heart. Cindy says, glad you are safe. Thank you, Cindy. And these chest tubes are under a bit of a vacuum constantly, right? So they are pulling constantly to make sure that the fluid that goes towards your heart is pulled out. But you're breathing against that minor vacuum, and there's something inside your chest that your lungs are hitting. So it's almost indescribable, but you just can't take a really deep breath. It's just not possible. But I was not exercising my lungs the way I should have been. So I get moved over day 2, and I still kind of feel, and Mrs. Flannel said there was actually like a decline. The color started to go out of me and things like that. Alan says, nice to see you, Brian. Hi, gang. Hi, Alan. Welcome. It's good to see you too, my friend. Anita says, I had to use one of a few surgeries. Sorry, I have to pull up my other one. Not as invasive as yours, probably, not chest. They should have done that for sure. You're right. When my wife had some of her things, they used it with her. So part of the problem, I think, is that all of them, I think, probably assumed along the line, occupational therapy, occupational health, the doctor, the PA, my nurses, somebody assumed somewhere, because it was on the table next to me, that somebody had explained to me when and how to use it. It's an easy mistake to make. So, but it had really profound consequences for me. So we're making it through the second day. I still can't really feel like I'm catching my breath. I'm not really feeling like I'm catching my breath. And I'm like really having to focus on actually like manually breathing. And what would happen is I would start to fall asleep finally, and then I would begin to asphyxiate, is really what it boils down to. That means run out of air for those in Rio Linda. Shout out to Rush Limbaugh. And I would wake up and feel like I was like suffocating. And so I think it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, night 2, I finally called the nurse in and was like, something's wrong. I can't breathe. And so they jumped right into action, and this nurse is the one that saved my bacon, so kudos to you. I don't think she's watching, but she was the one that figured it out. And they did a chest x-ray immediately, and of course they put me on oxygen immediately, and my O2 sat was like 98%. And you know, they listened, and it's kind of diminished a little bit. Yeah, Green Acre says, after my appendiotomy, I was afraid to cough for 2 weeks for fear my guts would come out. I sneezed today, and I didn't die. I am, God is so good. And so chest x-ray, O2, the doctor came in. He's like, hey man, I've looked at your chest x-ray. You're good. You're okay. It's just part of it. And I'm like, I'm telling you, my tidal volume isn't good. And he, I had to double check. The tidal volume is the term used in how much air you're pushing out of your lungs, okay? And your lungs aren't a balloon. It's a common misconception. Yeah, Amy, that's a good question. Amy says, where in the Sam Hill was respiratory therapy? It's a pre-op checklist item. I don't know. So, again, a whole bunch of people, and just one person had to miss, you know, one thing, and that's what happened. Anyways, so they listened, and it's diminished. And I did. Betty says you should have had a pillow for your wound area. I do. They had gave me a pillow. Um, but I actually didn't find much use in the pillow, to be honest. But that's a different story. And so they listened and they said your lung sounds are a little diminished, but you're okay. Your O2 sats are okay. Now I want to get briefly into the anatomy of the lungs, if you'll forgive me, because it makes all the sense in the world to this story. So your lungs are not just two bags, okay? What happens is you have tubes, right? Your trachea goes down, and that branches off into your bronchiola, into your other there. So all these little branches go out. No exchange happens in these branches, okay? These are the ones that close up when people have like asthma and stuff, and they get that real, okay, that's all up here. When you get pneumonia, that's all down in what's called your alveoli. And your alveoli look like grape sacks, okay? And Sean says my lungs have kazoos in them. Your alveoli are like grape sacks all through the area, and those are actually what are expanding and allowing the carbon dioxide and all the waste from the metabolic process of your body to be exchanged. McKay, hello, it's good to see you. Look, T-Rex, get it? T-Rex. I got a dad joke sweater. So when you breathe in, the air has to get to grape sack. A bunch of grapes, Sean. Okay. So these bunches of grapes, these alveoli, are all over those sacs. Well, you have to get air all the way from your mouth past all that area to inflate those, okay? And then when you deflate them to exhale and it comes out, there's still dead air in there. RN, hello, it's good to see you. It's good to be back. And that's called dead air, dead space, whatever. There's 400, roughly 400 mLs of dead air. And ml is also a cc, if that helps you guys. But 300 mLs is a Coke can, okay, if that helps, to give you a visual. So you need a Coke can and a third just to get the air that's good fresh air from the, the front of your lips down to start the inflation process of your alveoli. And then you have to expel at least 400 mLs of air before that exchange actually starts happening. If you only pulled in 400 mLs, you would suffocate, okay? Because you're never actually inflating the alveoli and having that exchange of the gases. And that feeling like you're suffocating is not actually you running out of air, it's a buildup of the carbon dioxide in your system, okay? So this is where we get to the crucible of this entire story. My nurse finally says, after a breathing treatment and chest x-rays and doctors and chief and all kinds of people coming in, have you been using your spirometer? And I said, no. Nobody said when. I don't know. Do I breathe in and could I hurt myself if I don't do it right? If I do it too early? If I do it too deep? I don't know. All I know is I need this right thing. And she says, well, there's another one, but this is the one that I liked because it was harder. She says, well, what's happening is your alveoli are actually closing because they're not being used, because you're not breathing deep enough. And you just can't kind of go and try, like you have to have the mechanical resistance of the spirometer to make that happen. And I said, give me that stupid thing. And I didn't actually, I went, but so I pulled, and I'm going to give you a demonstration, okay? So the very bottom basically is 250 because this thing actually bleeds air at the same time you're pulling. So it's not like a closed system, right? So they figured out whatever. So the very bottom is 250. And this is what I pulled. $750 mLs, roughly, was my maximum inspiration. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Eclectitis, she says. Yeah, very painful re-expansion to pop those back open. 750 on my most focused, hard workiest, deepiest, breathiest. So I was basically suffocating because I would start to go to sleep and my lungs knew that things weren't right. So they weren't opening all the way. They were opening just enough to basically kind of keep me alive. But that wasn't working because then I would wake up and I would be out of air. I was supposed to use this thing. 10 times an hour, every single hour. I didn't use it for the first ICU, step down, almost 30 hours. So my lungs just were like, we're done. But with the assistance of their breathing treatment, and I think after about 6 hours of using it, I got up to about 1200. I was having near full conversations when I went into the ICU, and by the time I got to the step down unit that second night, I couldn't even talk to people. I had no air. Oh, hello. My therapy dog is back. Hello, therapy dog. So that nurse saved my bacon. Now, if I would have not been able to use this correctly, what they would have done is they would have re-intubated me and manually inflated my lungs. So I wasn't actually. Did you have her?
No.
Oh, okay. Esther came up, pushed the thing down, then ran off. Scared herself. They would have intubated me and re-inflated the lungs manually. That's what would have happened. But they also this part is not for the squeamish. So we're going to talk about pulling out chest tubes. Did you find her? Courtney.
Oh, she's up front.
Our new therapy dog Esther decided she's got to mind her growing. She's running all over town. So thankfully they didn't intubate me. They let me struggle. But I'm telling you, there was about 6 hours there where it really felt like I was suffocating, and I had to focus on every single breath that I took in and how far I could blow it out, and it was really it was kind of torture, but we made it. And I remember sitting there thinking, one breath at a time, and I mean, like, the seconds were like hours. It was a very difficult experience, but thinking this will be better tomorrow. Like, you'll be better tomorrow. You just have to make it through this. Just make it through this point. You'll be better tomorrow. So the doc says, hey, your chest tubes are looking. Of course, the whole time everyone's told me I look great. You look great. You look great. Everything looks great. You look great. You're young. You're healthy. You look great. And which is nice to hear. I told the occupational therapist he didn't look so bad himself, and he laughed and laughed. But Mrs. Flannel had gone downstairs to get a cup of coffee. This is probably about 4 or 5 hours after we've identified the spirometer problem. I am feeling somewhat better, and they said, we're going to get these chest tubes out, and you'll feel a lot better then. And I said, okay, let's do it. So, of course, there's 2 of them in here, and I did not realize at the time that they wrapped all the way around to my heart. I thought they were just like a couple little tubes in your chest. No. Those jokers are like 7 inches long. And they're stitched in, of course, naturally. What else would they be? And so at this point, they've pulled out like the central line. They've started to DC some things. And the nurse said, or the PA, excuse me, she's like, it's not exactly painful. It's just kind of. And I said, look, you're pulling a foreign body out of me. Like, I'm imagining like weird and discomfort has got to be up there at the top of the list. And she's like, that's a good way. Alan says I'm squeamish. Wave your hands and I'll unmute. Professor Pending says, was the Holy Spirit comforting you? He's really good at that. I made it through, my friend. So he was working full time. Yeah. Nicholas says, on a positive note, it changes your perspective as an ALS provider and the compassion you have for your patients. You've got that right. Okay, so Alan, here we go with the squeamish part. They pulled the 2 stitches out, right? And she's like, do you need your wife here to like hold your hand? And I said, no, I'm good. And she's like, all right, so on the count of 3, I want you to take a deep breath. Okay. She goes, and I'm going to pull them out all at once. Okay. She goes, 1, 2, take a deep breath. And I went, and guys, it felt like somebody was trying to like pull start my motor by using like my colon through my ribs. I don't know how else to describe. It pulled like the life. Do you remember the Princess Bride when he's like, I just sucked 1 year of life out of your body. How do you feel? And he was like, she pulled those things out and it was like, and I went, and she's like, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. And I'm like, well, about an hour later, after those things were out, breathing was much easier. Okay, Alan. Alan, you can come back. All the squeamish people. All the squeamish people come back. I'll type it here. Come back. Icky. Over. There we go. It was an experience. Okay, good. I don't recommend it. If you don't have to have chest tubes pulled out, I don't recommend it. But they bandaged me up, and it took a little while for that to kind of start to feel better. But that same morning, I thought I was dying. They're like, you'll be good. You'll go home today. I'd spent 2 nights in the hospital, and that was day 3. And of course, the first day was surgery. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, I can go home? And they're like, well, do you want to go home? I said, yes. Yes, I really want to go home. And they're like, great. So throughout the morning, they kept disconnecting things. And I was able to do all those fun things that you have to do before you leave a hospital when you've had a catheter in and surgery. I had a nice bowel movement. I was able to avoid my own urine. And like occupational therapy came and I got up, I walked around the whole little unit. I walked up and down a flight of stairs and they're like, you're like our easiest patient ever. The nurse said she'd never seen anybody leave in 3 days. I wasn't pushing it. Okay. I know that might seem hard for you guys to believe, but I was, the amount of discomfort I went through being able to not really breathe that morning had in many ways put the fear of God into me. No joke. I was, it was hard not to go insane almost because the time was so long. And what I kept thinking was, I'm not a prisoner of war. I'm not in chains. Like, they're not making me kneel on bamboo or, whatever. I'm a World War II buff, so there's lots of horrible things we did to each other as humans. And I kept thinking I'm on pain meds. Like, I know they can intubate me if they have to. Like, but it was... I really think if you guys hadn't been praying for me and the Lord hadn't been there, I don't know what cracking looks like, but it was an intense, very intense experience. But again, that was only about 6 hours. My grandparents both had various forms of lung illnesses that eventually caused the vast majority of their demises, and for years they were short of breath and on oxygen constantly, and I just can't imagine what people go through that have those kind of like chronic COPD and things, having experienced it just for a very brief period of time. It was goodness. It was, yeah, Sean says, to quote a good brother, is that odd or is that God? Absolutely, it was God. Alan says, great expressions, by the way. Boy, thank you. Terry says, praise Jesus. Amen. Amen. 110% amen. So I got home Friday. The car trip home was about an hour and 10 minutes. And it's difficult when, even though I was on pain meds, I was never really comfortable. So, I don't know how to explain it. It's just, and then of course your body is so pumped up with so many things that you just don't feel right. Besides the mental fog and things like that. So I got home Thursday night and about 7 p.m. and I went pretty much right to bed. And oh my gosh, I slept for 90 minutes. straight. And that was the most I had slept in 2 nights. And I can't tell you, when I woke up, I felt like a new human. I still had a long way to go. I was still, backed up and bloated, and like my digestive system hadn't kicked back in. I hadn't eaten really in 3 days. But I was just, the relief of 90 minutes of sleep. It was so incredible. I could almost get emotional. Just that moment of waking up at like 9:30 or something. It was just like, So they sent me home on pain meds, and I was able to completely be off all of the prescription pain meds 2 or 3 days ago. I don't remember now. I haven't even taken ibuprofen or Tylenol since I think 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. this morning. I'm not even on aspirin. Well, no, I am on 81 milligrams of aspirin because of the heart thing. But I'm not on ibuprofen. I'm not even on Tylenol, guys. God has just been so great. Very gracious. Very gracious. So thank you all. Your comments, your emails, they meant a great deal. Some of you have been sending me text messages. It meant and means more to me than I can tell you guys. It was so nice to see just the prayers and the praises going up, and I'm extremely grateful. God is good. So if I remember correctly, Nathan asked, how and what got you into homesteading? Do we homeschool our children? We do. We homeschool them, and we've homeschooled them forever. I was actually homeschooled. I am a pastor and missionary's kid. And I was homeschooled way back in the dark ages of the 80s. Bama Boy Blue said, it's a beautiful night to relax on a porch here in Virginia. God bless. That it is, my friend. That it is. Well, let me get us caught up to here, and then I'll tell you. Professor Pending asked what my restrictions are. And currently, I'm not supposed to drive anywhere. I'm not supposed to lift more than 10 pounds. But they kind of told me just to listen to my body, with the exception of those things. Like, don't kind of break those rules. So I've been puttering around the homestead a lot with my mom. She's been helping with, we've been trimming bushes, with little hand clippers, and she's been mowing the yard, and a pig got out. Is that today? I think the pig got out today. I may have exerted myself a little bit more than the 10 pounds because I didn't think of it and just started trying to wrestle a pig. Pig's back. Pig's safe. Nobody got hurt. My heart didn't explode. But I'll tell you guys, I quit all the pain meds, and I quit those things and went to the ibuprofen and the Tylenol, and my body started to just get better. I started sleeping better, and I can think clearly, and I really feel revitalized. And I will tell you, my greatest fear going into this surgery was not death, because we don't fear death, because we as Christians know that if we are absent with the body, we will be present with the Lord. So no worries there. Of course, nobody wants to leave their family, but if you're dead, I don't think you know. So I don't know how the whole transition thing works. But I was worried that I was going to wake up, and I've had this decline over the past couple of years, and I was really feeling I was more like turning 60 than turning 40. Not that there's anything wrong with 60-year-olds, but just the fatigue and the inability to have any stamina. And I was afraid I was going to wake up and they were going to be like, hey, good news, we got everything in place. The bad news is it's not going to get any better. You're just not going to get any worse. That was my real fear, is I was going to wake up and they were going to be like, nah, this is your new normal, sorry. But the good news is you're not going to die. And I would have had to have learned to have dealt with that. But I don't feel that way. I feel really, really, really good, like emotionally, spiritually, mentally. I really feel like I've lost 10 years. and I'm really excited. Now I'm struggling, as you all knew I would, with not doing anything, even though I feel better than I went before surgery. So to give you an idea, we'll have a live demonstration here on national TV. I told you before. Okay, I'm just going to move the little green thing down. That was my max. It was 2,500. Okay, 2,500 when I went to the hospital. You ready? That was 3,000. Okay, and I've been sitting here yammering on for almost an hour straight. So when I am well rested, I can pull 3,500 mLs, which is 1,000 more. I feel re-energized. I mean, a cup of coffee doesn't compare. I've never done any kind of like speed or anything, but I almost imagine that's what it feels like. My energy level is back. Like I want to get cracking at things, you know. So I'm having to really focus to keep it on the relaxing side of things. But my mom helped me today with the burn pile, and we just sat around and we kind of lit it off, and then we would let all the branches burn down real small, and then we just kind of go toss small branches back into the fire, and we probably spent 3 or 4 hours doing that today, and it was just lovely to sit out in this beautiful fall weather. It's fall, by the way. Hello. This is the best season. You can wear a hoodie, and I'm wearing shorts and flip-flops. It is the absolute best. I love it. But yeah, it's yeah, there you go. Shots. The hammock is here, Peaceful Acres. I have not put it. It's actually over in the other area. It's not over here in this area. Sean says, "Listen to your body, just don't listen to your heart." I reckon it's desperately wicked. Yep. Jeremy wants to know about Bruce. Bruce got into a fight with something, and he got some sort of very bad infection on the back of his neck. I actually put him in a pen and cleaned him with antiseptic, iodine, everything that I used when I castrated our pigs. So all that surgical stuff. I put antibiotic, anti-whatever, everything I could get on it. It wasn't working. He was declining pretty rapidly. And I called animal control to ask for help, and they basically said, we only capture animals that aren't in cages. Well, I mean, so what, like if I let them out, will you come, you know? And they're like, no, you have to call this sanctuary lady. So I called the sanctuary lady. She didn't answer. I left a message. She didn't answer. I texted her. She didn't answer. I did everything I could, and he eventually succumbed to whatever it was that attacked him. So that is kind of the one real tragedy this week is we've lost Bruce. It's really empty actually around here without him, because as most of you know, we did not keep him in a cage. He was a wild raccoon who decided he liked us. He was a juvenile. He was small, and I don't know what got him. He just came back wounded one day, and so Bruce is unfortunately no more. But Carolyn says it's not fall here in Florida, it's hurricane season. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I know you guys have some storms coming your way. We are praying for you guys in Florida. My family all over Florida. Greene County Agriculture says the dead of the dead know nothing. The shade of Samuel while conversing with Saul. All the references I found indicate that ego concerns are another thing after death. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying about you just I wasn't afraid of and am not afraid of death. Nathan asked what got us into homesteading. It's a good question. If I can do it in about 10 minutes, I'm going to give it my best go. I realized pretty early on that you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have food, It doesn't do you any good. And the Bible talks about it too. The Bible talks about they will throw their gold and silver into the street and it will be worthless, and that a loaf of bread will go for a day's wages. There's lots and lots of warning. Famine is something that has happened throughout history. And so I realized that I have a good paying job. I have health insurance. I have car insurance. I have life insurance. I didn't really have food insurance. Now there are much cheaper ways, much cheaper ways to get food insurance that don't involve buying acreage and trying to grow all your own food and do all the backbreaking labor that is involved. There are all types of different companies that will provide you with food that's good for shelf life of 30 years or 25 years or whatever. So but I like hard work. My wife actually enjoys hard work. We're kind of crazy, and I do better when I have projects and things to do. And we also realized that like big farming and big ag and things like that, while it's incredible they can feed people, are doing all sorts of kind of bad practices. Not all of them, but I mean, like, they wash your ammonia in chicken before they sell it to you and stuff like that. And our supply chains are so fragile. So we also really enjoy being out in the country and being in the woods and those kind of things. And we enjoy, well, she enjoys gardening. I'm not a big fan, which is, I know, awkward because I'm David the Good's brother. I'm supposed to also be like some gardening guru, and I couldn't tell you an azalea from a whatever. But that's where my wife's expertise comes in. She's a very good gardener. She likes it a lot. I enjoy the animal husbandry side, and actually the butchering and that process of breaking something down into edible food. So we decided to, if we could, kind of work toward as much of our own food production as we could. And so last year, August of last year, we bought this place and we set to work. And I still haven't filmed. I need to film it, but how much our first year cost us to produce. But we produced 1,800 pounds of food last year for our first go around without using much mechanization or more like commercial type things. So that was with our gardens, and that was with raising and butchering our chickens and our pigs. The pigs were a huge part of it. I think they were something like 1,000 pounds or 1,100 pounds of meat, and we put up, I think, like 698 pounds of veg and fruit and stuff. So we're hoping to do better this year. Our fall garden and stuff is kind of on hold because obviously I'm not allowed to do a lot of the things. I do a lot of the manual labor for the garden in the setup and the prep. She maintains it faithfully. She does a lot of the prep work too. It's just I do a lot of the machinery work, let me put it that way. So if we end up tilling or like stump grinding the stuff out of the area, those kind of things, that's mostly me. So I think we're going to plant maybe a small fall garden in the next couple weeks, just a few fun little things here and there. We're also going to, I think, put a cover crop in our new kitchen garden area, just hand cast some like barley or buckwheat or something like that in there, just to give us something to hold the dirt while we wait through the winter. And then I think we're going to get a seed drill in the next couple days. And in the cow pasture, we have the cows broken up into 3 different pastures. And the third one is the biggest one. It's almost an acre. And what we're going to do is mow it real low and then seed drill it with like a spring oat or a winter wheat. Keep them off of it until all the other grasses in the other 2 paddocks have been eaten, and then move them onto that for the winter, and really hope we can get that through so we don't have to buy hay for the 4 cows. So really, homesteading is just kind of one of those things that we've just wanted to always try. We did it in small measures in the city. We had chickens. We had backyard chickens for a decade or so. She's always had a garden of some sort somewhere. But what we did not do was butchering, raising animals like pigs and cows, and we didn't really process, like preserve anything, because whatever we grew in the garden, we just ate out of the garden. We never really had enough to do the whole preserving side of things. So this past year has been such an incredible learning experience. I had an obscene goal of like 90% of our own food production, and I think we probably hit like 10% of our food production. But what I have now is animals on the property that are almost completely self-sufficient in terms of feed and stuff. So, like, if the apocalypse happened tomorrow, I have enough animals out there that I could live off of them while we waited for the planting season to come around, and things like that. So that's kind of the long and the short of what got us into homesteading. My brother David the Good got me into YouTubing. He's been after me for years to do it, and I didn't feel like I had the right topic or subject, or I didn't want to just put any old thing out there. But kind of the challenge of going from living in a regular suburb, my whole life. Well, with one very brief, like 4-year period, we had 2 acres, but we didn't do that much homesteading. We were young and had no money. It made kind of sense to start the channel to document what we were doing, because we used to watch all kinds of people, and still do, who homestead, and learn, and just seeing people out in the field working with the animals, and tending their gardens, and just living that kind of life just really seemed appealing. My wife is a 95% stay-at-home mom, so she does 5 hours roughly a week remotely, so she spends the vast majority of her time making sure this place ticks. And then I have a full-time job as a firefighter paramedic, and then I have a small stump grinding business also that we do. And then we have you guys. We have 600 people join our channel in the past 28 days. So if you're one of those people watching, welcome. Thank you for finding some sort of value in what we're doing here. We always try to encourage you, uplift you, and provide some sort of smile on your face. In any and all of our videos, even the ones where things are going wrong. It's not a show. I don't storyboard the videos. I don't sit up in the morning and think what would be the most whatever for people. I just want you to see what we're doing, and to really encourage you wherever you're at. If you're homesteading, I'd like to encourage you to homestead. If you want to homestead, I want to encourage you to homestead. If you're just trying to live your life and raise your kids and do the right thing, I want to encourage you there too. I want you to be able to come home from work, or a long day with the kids, or whatever, and if one of our videos pops up, at some point in it, you get a smile, or you feel better. Even if it's, like I said, something, I hope we've done a good job through this heart surgery thing of providing hope and encouragement to you guys as you've provided it to us. I don't do, the gotcha videos or any of those things. So the fact that you guys do find value in it, and that you spend time with me, just means the world to me. It's very humbling. My brother is a subject matter expert, so it makes sense that a lot of people subscribe to his channel, because he really knows what he's talking about. I am not a homesteading expert. I'm just kind of figuring it out as I go and learning from other people. I've been watching Billy from Permapastures. I've been watching Danny and Wanda from Deep South Homestead. Sean the Modern Yeoman, I've watched some of. He's a good buddy of mine, man. He's great. He and I text each other fairly frequently. Kramer Life, they've been searching their whole lives for one. They just found their homestead, and they're getting to work on it. There are people out there who are experts in homesteading. I'm good at people, and I hope you find encouragement. I'm gonna scroll through the comments. We're getting close to our 1 hour, and I probably should I don't know, lay down or something. So thank you all for your well wishes about Bruce. That means a lot to us. Sean says, hardworking women are really something else. Easily one of the most attractive traits I look for in a lady. You got that right. You can't homestead with a lazy wife. Your second crop of corn. Woohoo! Green County Agro says their second crop of corn is about ready. Carolyn says you're doing great to make sure you have food security. The important thing is that you have the skills and the infrastructure. Smith's World Homestead Life said my son had open heart surgery at the age of 17. Oh my gosh. I still have his heart pillow, and he had to use that machine to breathe in. Glad you're okay now. Thank you, Smiths. Jackie says, God is good. Prayers for a speedy recovery. Sean says, your brother is genuinely a huge inspiration to me. He was the first Christian gardener guy I found on YouTube after converting to Christianity, and we have the same humor interests, and it was a blessing. And Billy is cool, too. Yeah. RN says, love your channel and your wonderful sense of humor and your colorful way of describing things. Professor Pending says, good night, and Brian and everyone. I have to get up at 11 a.m. God bless you, Professor Pending. We're praying for you. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm going to say it again. Professor Pending has lost nearly everything that he owns in his house due to that flooding in Kentucky a few months ago. He's basically living in a tent in his front yard. He has said he does not need any money, but if you guys are praying people, which I know you are, please pray for Professor Pending. He's also said he is happy to receive Christmas cards. So I have his address. So if you want Professor Pending's address, send an email to there. Send it to that. So if you want to, like I said, if you want to send him an email, you can go to theflannelguys54@gmail.com. Send me an email, say I would like Professor Pending's address, and I will send it to you. Obviously, I'm not going to post it out all willy-nilly, so we do need some layers of security. And Nathan says, thank you for sharing. I believe in everything you said. You're doing your family good. My wife is a stay-at-home mother. Woohoo! And you're right. Money is not everything. Following God is, and your family. Amen to that, my brother. Keep doing that hard work. Nicholas says, I miss our daily laughs at the firehouse. Yeah, Nick was my lieutenant before I got promoted. And actually, he got promoted again, so now he's a captain. He's all off being fancy somewhere. But we used to, man, we had a station 3 A shift for, what was it, like two or 3 years, Nick? We had just so much fun. Joshing each other, and like we all worked out in the gym together, and it was just like that brotherhood and camaraderie. It doesn't happen by accident. Like it takes some work to make it happen. But there was a whole contingent of us, like 5 or 6 of us, that would run around. Actually, this is somewhat irreverent, so you'll forgive me. But somebody had asked me to do their wedding, so I went online to find out, like, how do you do, how in Virginia it's different everywhere. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, you have to be either an ordained minister, or you have to do an orator, like, form. You go fill out a form and you become an orator for one wedding at one place with these people. That's it. But in order to be ordained in the state of Virginia, they do not allow it to be like an online ordination, right? Well, then we didn't realize there were online ordinations. Like you could just go log in somewhere and get ordained. Now, please understand, I'm using the word extremely loosely, okay? So we went to like the California Church of Hair Grease and Hippie Love or something, and it was like, hey, man, do you want to get ordained? And we're like, sure, because we only wanted the free ones. We weren't paying for this joke. And they were like, great. Do you love people? Yeah. Are you kind to people? I try, yeah. Great. You're ordained. Welcome to the Church of Love and Hair Grease and whatever. It's not really what it was called. I don't know what it was called. And they would put your name on this fancy little like printable certificate for free. And so like 8 of us at the station went through this goofy little process, right? And then we ran around the station for like 2 months calling each other father. So like in the morning meeting, you'd sit down, there's a bunch of people, and it was like airplane. When they're like over, under, over. Father, 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 father. And then somebody else would walk in, father, 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 father. It was so stupid. We had such a fun time. But that is not the actual ordination that I ended up. I got the orator thing the first time, and then I went through my church's Southern Baptist ordination process. So when I tell you that I'm ordained, I don't mean with the Church of Happy Hair Grease and Hippie Love. I did go through an actual process where I was vetted by deacons and a panel of pastors, and then voted on by a congregation. But that's a different story. That's another story for another time. Sean says he's buying some camera equipment. He might start making videos in the future. Woohoo! Cool. Cindy says, remember to follow your restrictions until you heal. Then you'll be 100% for your family and homestead and the Most High. Blessings, praising God's for answered prayers. Nick says, yeah, us 3 years, and he was there for 5. I agree, Sean. He says, the necessity of legal documentation ordination is ridiculous. Unions are government business. Marriage is Christian business. But they're trying to regulate us with all that stuff. I agree. I do. But that could be a whole nother live stream chat. And I actually would like to go inside now. But I have my little fancy pillow. Thank you guys again. I know I've said it like 4 times. I really, really, really appreciate your prayers. They carried me and my family I can't imagine going through that process without any faith or without anybody praying. The number of people that reached out was truly humbling and overwhelming. Um, I have a couple videos in the queue that were pre-surgery. I haven't edited them yet. I'll probably get to them shortly to edit and get out. I know you guys are in no real great hurry, but I feel like I need to get something out. But I've only been like not foggy mentally for the past 2 days or so. So we're gonna take our time so my editing isn't worse than it normally is. But as always, continue to grow as you grow. Thank you for joining me for my probably favorite live stream ever. It's gonna be hard to top. I hope God blesses you and keeps you. Thank you for your prayers. Good night.